Hello, Royalers. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Now, let me tell you something. When it comes to beauty, this model, actress, and sportscaster was at the top of her game. Though most young people do not know anything about this woman, Miss Jayne Kennedy is, if you watched Starsky and Hutch and Million Dollar Man, or even the Rose Bowl in 1982, you would have seen this beautiful woman of class and elegance who broke barriers in sports and who is well deserving of a Royal Black and Elite lecture. Now, as accusations are flying about Fox Sports and Joy Taylor and all of them, Jayne really showed what class was and how to break into the NFL field and the sports broadcasting field without selling herself. So this is such a beautiful story. She was a epitome of professionalism, and it brings me honor to introduce her to some people and maybe to reintroduce her to others. Miss Jayne Kennedy. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining me. You all, I cannot thank you enough for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And you've got to definitely like and share this one because we need to get the word out that there were women who were, sportscasters who were professional. And Jayne Kennedy was the first Black female sportscaster. Now, before the world knew her as Jayne Kennedy, she was born as Jane Jill Harrison on October the 27th, 1951, in Washington, D.C. Now, Jane was one of six children, and her parents' names were Herbert and Virginia Harrison. Now, during the 60s, Jane was a cheerleader because she was in school. She was a cheerleader. She was on the National Honor Society, vice president of student council. So she was really busy in school. And she graduated in 1970. Now, here's where things kind of heat up because 1 year later, she married Leon Isaac Kennedy. And all the ladies know who Mr. Leon was if back in the 70s. He was a good looking guy, and all the girls thought he was cute. So they got married in 1971. He played in some movies like Penitentiary. He also played with Jayne Kennedy in a movie called Body and Soul. Do you know that he is 76 now? And that's why I said I wanted to do a few videos a week of people who are still alive but deserve a Royal Black and Elite lecture. So he's still around, and those are the things that he played in. Now, when they got married in 1971, Smokey Robertson was Leon's best man. So, I always say that circle was really small. So all those people kind of hung out together and knew one another. Now, after they got married, they were married again. They played in a movie together, and she was a young woman at the time, but unfortunately, they did not make it. After 10 years of marriage, and I believe like 1 year of separation, they were divorced for irreconcilable differences. And this was in 1982. Now, during the 70s, however, there was a lot of mess that was around their divorce because there was a sex tape that was leaked to the public. And this was 1972. So Kim Kardashian, believe you me, was not the first one. Now, Leon said he didn't do it, that he did not leak that tape. So he sued Ebony and Jet because they reported that he had done it. Now, we don't know what the outcome of that case was, but basically because it was out of court, they settled the stuff out of court. But so we don't know who put that video out about her, but she did not let that stop her because in 1970 she was crowned Miss Ohio USA. And she also made it to the top 10 for the Miss USA pageant as well. So she stayed busy. And in 1971, she was dancing with Bob Hope's tour around the world, which led to her also being on the Dean Martin show as a singer and as a dancer. And of course, her looks opened up many doors for her. Very beautiful woman. Now, she started acting, and I mentioned Starsky and Hutch. I also mentioned the $6 Million Man earlier on. These are the early roles that she started getting. And so if you saw any of those shows back in the 70s, you know who Jayne Kennedy is. But her big break really came because she was doing commercials and, little appearances on Sanford and Son and different shows. But in 1978, that's really when her big break came. And she really got into the sports industry at that time. You see, in 1978, Phyllis George, who had been there for several years working for the NFL Today on CBS, and she was leaving. So Jayne replaced her. And so for the first time in 1978, Black people were able to turn on the television. And for women, which was a really big deal, we saw a Black woman, a beautiful woman, representing us with class and with elegance. And, nowadays, when you look at, I talked about Joy Taylor and all the stuff that happened with her. So allegedly, who she works for is being sued in court behind harassment. And it is said that Joy was a part of that, as far as how she got to the top. Maybe she was laying on her back to get there, allegedly. But these rumors did not come out about Jayne. Jayne was known for her professionalism. And I mean, and look at the woman. She was beautiful. She didn't have to do any of that extra stuff. So in 1981, she won an NAACP award for her role in Body and Soul. And then she also won an award, an Emmy, as a matter of fact, in 1982 for her hosting the Rose Bowl. And so, sports legends. I mean, I'm just so proud of her. Now, in 1978, the show that she was originally on, NFL Today, they fell out. Something about, allegedly, a contract dispute. Jayne knew her value, and oftentimes during those days, they would pay Black people less than what they were paying others. And so by then, Jayne had built a huge career as far as being, a pageant winner, being on every show, even the $6 Million Man, all those shows. So she felt like she was worth more. So she walked away from it. So she, hosted a few shows, didn't last, but in 1982, in the 1980s, excuse me, she also had something called Love Your Body. Now, during the 1980s, everybody was into aerobics. They all had on the little aerobic outfit. Listen, I had one in the little headband. You could not keep me out of the aerobics place. We used to love that. And my mom had her video. How many of y'all do y'all remember this, Jayne, with the Love Your Body? I think Olivia Newton-John had one. So back in the day, Tybo was not the first one to have these type of videos. So I'm just so proud to bring you Jayne Kennedy. She is definitely a story worth knowing. Now, in 1985, 14 years after she divorced Leon Isaac Kennedy, she married a man named Bill Overton. And they've been married for 35 years. They have 4 children together. And Bill had a daughter before they were born named Cheyenne. So she's there in the family. Today, Jayne is in her 70s and living her best life. Her husband keeps a website for her and her family, and so that's there, and that's where I got some of the information from. I also got my information from the morning news and her IMDb page. So I thank you all so much for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I hope that you learned a lot and enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys for liking, sharing, and subscribing. As I always tell you, it helps push it through the algorithm, so I can't thank you enough. And don't forget, make sure you purchase that Royal Black and Elite book that has all of the stories that I talk about here on the channel. So again, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.